We go back to the phones. We are now 49 days away. That's right, 49 days away from Election Day. A lot less than that for early voting. Early voting starting in less than a month here in Texas. And Matt Mackowiak, Republican strategist, joining us to talk about everything going on in the 2020 election. Matt, good morning. How are you today?
I'm doing great. How you doing, Chad?
Doing great. Like I said, we're now 49 days away from Election Day. How would you, looking as far out as we are right now and everything that's going on, what do you think the state of the race is between the president and Joe Biden right now?
Yeah, there's a few things there. I think the race has been actually pretty stable for the last couple of weeks. I think Trump has gained some momentum over the last few months, but I think to a certain extent some of that momentum is stalled. And what's hard to tell here is I do believe Trump has a significant, enthusiasm advantage.
Yeah.
And I do think that's going to matter. It's going to affect turnout. It's going to affect margins. It's going to affect, people making the effort to vote, where some, may wait to the last minute. But look, I think, to me, it's two things that are going to decide this election, because I really do expect it to be extremely close. I mean, one or two states deciding it, perhaps even a scenario where, Trump wins on election night and Biden may then take a lead, a week later when all the mail ballots are counted. The two factors to me are, number one, the debates. I just don't remember in my lifetime a debate more important than this first debate. And part of the reason for that is not only have there been questions about, Biden and if he's okay or whatever, but it's also just that he's not doing anything, right? He's not doing interviews. He's, using teleprompters for interviews. I don't know how you do that since you're not supposed to know what the questions are. So the stakes are really high for Biden in the first debate. I think people know what they're going to get from Trump, but we really don't know what's going to happen. I think that debate is 2 weeks from tonight.
Yeah.
But then the second thing is just, where are we a month from now when people really start voting? Is the economy strengthening? It's looking like third quarter GDP is going to be the strongest in the history of the country, maybe 25% growth. Where are we on coronavirus? Are we making real progress towards a vaccine? Do we have another spike, which some experts are concerned about, given flu season and winter and people going back indoors? All these variables are going to be crucial, because I do think this is a margin of error race. I think it's very, very close right now. I think Trump can win. He can't lose Florida. If he loses Florida, it's over, and it'll be over by 8 or 9 p.m. if he loses Florida. And then he's got to win one of Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, and Michigan if he holds the other states. Now, there are some question marks. North Carolina's a question mark. Arizona's a question mark. So, look, it's really close. I mean, Trump has a path. He has a certain path, but it is a narrow path to re-election. The question is, again, is that enthusiasm gap going to close the overall deficit he has at the moment in the battleground states and nationally, and then what happens with the debate and where we are a month from now?
One thing that we have not heard a lot of conversation on is the Senate races and what the Senate may look like. It appears to me that everyone is just saying the House is going to stay Democrat. What do you think about the House and the Senate, Matt? I mean, right now where we stand, is there a real chance that the Republicans lose the Senate?
There is a chance, yes. The map is challenging for us, and the Democrats have put a lot of seats in play. I think you're talking about a one-seat majority one way or the other, and this is another scenario where the White House matters, because if you have the vice president, you only need 50 to have a majority. If you don't have the White House, you need 51, and that really is the difference. Dems need a net of 3 seats. They're going to lose Alabama, which means they're going to need a net of 4 seats to get to a majority. You can see a path with Colorado, perhaps North Carolina, perhaps Maine. There's a pathway there. Arizona. I think those 4 right there are probably the most vulnerable Republican seats. I wouldn't bet against Susan Collins in Maine. She finds a way. She has her own brand. She's going to overperform Trump significantly in Maine. We'll see how Martha McSally does in Arizona, how Coy Gardner does in Colorado. Those are 2 really tough races. Fundamentally, I still think Tillis is going to win in North Carolina. I just think that's a state Trump's going to win, even though it'll be really close. So we'll see kind of how that plays out, but it's going to matter. It's hugely consequential. If you like what Trump's done on judges for the last 4 years, reshaping the entire judiciary, fastest pace of judicial confirmations in history, if you like that, you got to hold the Senate. And if you lose the Senate, I mean, everything, not only do you lose the ability to confirm judges, but the Democrats are signaling they're going to get rid of the filibuster.
Yeah.
And they're not doing that because, for no reason. They're doing it because they're going to do crazy things like pack the Supreme Court, get rid of the Electoral College, admit Puerto Rico and Washington D.C. to the United States, which then would give them each 2 Senate seats, which would be Democrat. I mean, this is really the direction they want to go if they take the Senate majority back. It's very, very, very close. It's going to be a 1-seat majority, one way or the other, I would predict.
One more that I'll ask you about, just again this far out. How do you think the Texas House is looking here in the state of Texas?
Yeah, I think it's close. Look, my view is Trump's going to win Texas by 5 to 7%. Less than last time, significantly more than Cruz's margin from 2 years ago. I think, Cornyn will overperform Trump. I think he'll win by, maybe let's say 7 to 9% in that range. This is just my belief right now. The reason I mention those numbers is it affects, the statewide numbers affect the down ballot numbers. Yeah. And, the Democrats need a net of 9 seats to take the House back. They took 12 seats in 2018, and they took 5 seats in 2016. So they need something in the middle. The problem is the closer you get to the majority, the harder every seat becomes because these seats are more and more and more marginal. And so you got 20, 25 seats, maybe 30 seats in play, primarily in suburban areas in places like Dallas and Houston, San Antonio. It's going to be close. I think the Republicans will hold the majority in the Texas House. I think they're going to lose a few seats, so the majority will be more narrow than the 9-seat majority they have now. But certainly, it's possible they could take the House back even with Trump winning. He'd have to win by less than 5%, I think, maybe 3% for the Democrats to take the Texas House back, and I just don't see that.
Yeah. All right, Matt, tell folks about your newsletter and also tell folks about your podcast.
Yeah, more than 20,000 people now are receiving our Must Read Texas morning email, which takes all the top news from around the state and gets delivered to email inboxes by around 9 a.m. You can sign up for a free 1-week trial at mustreadtexas.com. Podcast is called Mac on Politics. Just posted an episode yesterday with Congressman Ken Buck, Republican of Colorado, a Freedom Caucus member. 2 really interesting things. He's been really fighting on big tech and holding them accountable. And then he also is looking at the funding of these groups that are rioting in our cities and has asked DOJ to investigate that. So a very interesting conversation. Check that out on the iTunes Store, on Google Play, on Stitcher, or on Spotify.
Very good. Matt Mackowiak, as always, appreciate your time. We'll talk to you next week.
Take care.
All right, that's Matt Mackowiak here on the Chad Hasty Show. News Talk KFYO.